Hello and welcome to Portsmouth This Week. My name is Conley Zani and I'm your host. This show is under the auspices of Rich Rayner, our Portsmouth Town Administrator. Together, Rich, myself, and the entire Portsmouth This Week team are on a mission to build community. We do that by bringing you accurate and timely information about the issues that impact you. We introduce you to the faces, the leaders, the personalities that make up this magical place in which we live. I am so honored today to have three guests with me. Officers from our police department. We have Officer Sylvia, welcome.
Thank you.
ACO Liz, that's how I know you. And Officer Wes, right?
Yes,
thank you so much for being here, all of you. Two of you are school resource officers, and Liz, you're our animal control officer. Oh, and I forgot to introduce Holly, who's down right by Officer Wes over there on the floor. Holly is our comfort dog, and she is just so beautiful. I really wanted her to get up on the table and talk to us, but she's having too much fun sniffing all the new smells down there, isn't she?
She does like that. Place she's never been, looks for food most of the time. So.
That's great. Yes, we've witnessed that. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for being on this show. I want to admit, I did the Portsmouth Police Academy a couple of years ago, and it blew my mind. I had so much fun. And I just I went in with respect for our department and came out with just 100 times more respect for just getting to know all of you and what you do and how you make, again, we all feel like we live in a magic place, and that has a lot to do with all of you guys. So thank you very much. I just want to get to know you, and I know our viewers want to get to know you, and maybe we could just start a little bit with, you know, how you got here. Why are you here in Portsmouth? Why the role that you play? Officer Sylvia, can we start with you?
Sure.
Yeah?
So I started with Portsmouth early last year, in January.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was with City of Fall River. I was a police officer in Fall River for a few years.
I bet it's different.
Totally different.
Yeah?
Totally different style of policing. The population here is obviously a lot smaller, and I love it here.
Okay, I wasn't going to ask you which one you liked better. I'm sure there's pros and cons to both, right?
There are.
Yeah.
I got on the job in Fall River when I was young, so obviously call to call, I enjoyed that, right? It gave me the experience.
Yeah.
I wanted to change things up, wanted to take a little break from that and prolong my career, so Portsmouth was a great fit.
Holly's trying to weigh in
She
over there.
wants
You
to.
hear Holly?
I
She
do.
wants to say something.
If I could give her pets, I would.
She's like, I hear one of my favorite guys talking right now. Well, that's really cool. All right, and so how about this school resource officer role? Was that something planned, or I can't remember if you're assigned to that, or if you were like, sign me up, I want that role.
So we are assigned to the schools that we work in.
Yeah.
Last year I was on an overtime shift, I believe, and my patrol captain met me on the road and he said, hey, there's a sign-up sheet that's going to be posted for the schools if you're interested.
Yeah.
So I did some thinking. I didn't know what to base it on, right? I didn't do it in the city.
Yeah.
And I signed up, went through the training, and fell in love with the role at the high school. So.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, right. So you're high school.
Yep.
All right.
I'm
And
at the
then
high school.
Officer West, you're at our elementary and middle.
Yep. Mostly the middle school, but I do take care of Hathaway and Melville as well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I have a very good friend who's got a daughter at Hathaway, and she talks about Holly all of the time.
Yes, I hear that a lot. A lot of kids go home and that's all they can talk about. So it looks like she's working.
I definitely. So Wes, please tell us just a little bit about your journey to the role that you're in.
Sure. So I've been in Portsmouth for just over 5 years now. Like William, I transferred here. I was a police officer in New York for 2 years. I grew up around here, so I wanted to come home. I came here and I was on patrol for about 3 years when the sign-up sheet came out for school resource officer.
Yeah.
And just like him, it was never anything planned. I didn't really know how the job went. I knew that it happened. I had them in school. But I figured it would be something new, something different, a way to get off of midnights. But just like William, I signed up and it was just, it's been great from day one. It's my third year in the schools. And from day one, I've really enjoyed it. It's a great way to connect with people, to connect with the kids, so that way, you know, they know all of us at the police department, kind of desensitizes, policing. It's not just a badge or uniform. We are people, and just an easy way to connect everyone. I really do enjoy what I do.
Well, that's amazing. All right, ACO Liz, how about you? Animal control officer, what's been the path to that?
So a lot of it comes back to just, it's a small town. I grew up in Portsmouth, grew up around here, went to school for like biology, environmental science, did environmental science work and substitute teaching, kind of like back and forth, and found out that this job was opening up. And I've always loved animals and, have some background in biology. So I was like, all right, I'll see what happens. And I got the job, and I've been here a little over 8 years now.
Did you go through the police academy?
Nope. So I'm not a police officer.
Oh, okay. All right. Didn't understand that. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
so I'm a civilian, but I work alongside the police. My desk is at the police station.
Right.
But I have not been through the academy. I have been through a lot of different animal control training classes with different organizations, but not anything like what these guys have to go through.
Yeah, okay, wow. All right, well, that's really cool. Well, why don't we just kind of continue on the story about your training and everything and what you deal with. I remember very fondly your presentation at the Academy, and just a little bit dumbfounded by all the things that your job
It's a wide scope. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, so teach us a little here. Like, what do you deal with every day?
So I primarily deal with domesticated animals. But again, that can range everything from like rats and rabbits, a lot of dogs and cats for sure.
Yeah.
But then we've had cases with horses, chickens, like all sorts of livestock animals. And Portsmouth is a very diverse town in that sense. So we have everything from pet parakeets to pet horses to pet cows, and then the farms.
What's the case with a chicken? What does that mean? What would that look like? Or not to put you on the spot about a chicken, but like it is crazy, like a crazy story.
So backyard chickens, and like trying to have your own poultry to lay eggs has become a much bigger thing in recent years.
Yeah.
Since I started. Unfortunately, for the people that get chicks and they want to raise them from babies, you don't always know if you're getting a chicken or a rooster. So I have a lot of calls about people whose neighbors, the nuisance roosters.
Great alarm clock.
You have a word for that, nuisance roosters.
Yep, the nuisance roosters, where somebody may have unintentionally gotten a rooster with their batch of chicks. And it's hard to find new homes for roosters, but I try to work with people to place them at farms, rescues, maybe somebody with a little bit more land where it's not going to bother the neighbors.
Right. So there's rooster rescues.
Not specifically, but there are like farm rescue organizations.
Yeah.
And
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, just to your point, it's a lot. It's very diverse.
It is. Every day is different. You never know what I'm going to walk in the door to.
All right. So that's the domestic.
Yeah.
You also have to deal with our coyotes and our what?
To some degree, wildlife. My role is much more education based. So dealing with coyote sightings. I do track coyote sightings, just so that we kind of have an idea of where more activity is, what kind of is going on in town.
We got one in the lobby out there, hanging out, right? No, I'm joking.
Geez, I was like,
no, I'm sorry.
I sincerely putting the work hat on. I sincerely hope that we do not.
They're just everywhere.
They are. They're all over the island.
I'm on it.
But so it's a lot of education. We have an ordinance in town that prohibits the feeding of wildlife, excepting bird and squirrel feeders, like elevated off the ground, primarily because of coyotes.
Oh, did not know that either.
So you can't be feeding like the neighborhood cats, leaving a bowl of food out on the front steps, and because you're going to get coyotes coming to eat out of it, raccoons, possum, like every neighborhood wild animal is going to come eat out of that bowl, in addition to the cats. So
yeah, and again, I wouldn't think about that.
Yep.
So there's some important rules. What are some important rules like that? Like don't put out a bowl of food.
Yeah.
What else would you tell us?
In specific to wildlife, or
really
across the board?
Any of the rules that you think are not top of mind?
So what is always
There's
top
a lot,
of mind?
right?
Yeah. What is always top of mind is the leash law.
Oh, okay.
If I could hammer home one thing in addition to please don't feed the wildlife, you're not helping them. It would be please keep your dogs on a leash.
And that is a law, right?
It is. It's a town ordinance. So if they're off your property, they have to be on a leash. The only exception is the dog park.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
And that's-
we deal with that I live in Common Fence Point.
yeah.
And you know, that big park, everybody's like, I want my dog off the leash. They're good. They're good. And but that's not the problem. It's the other dogs. Right? Like
it's a multifaceted problem. And I've only really come to understand it over time. Where it's first and foremost safety. So it's safety for your dog. It's safety for the other people and dogs in the area. I've had cases where a friendly dog runs up to a dog walking by on leash, and that dog either gets spooked or might be aggressive towards like an oncoming threat. And that friendly dog gets hurt because that other dog on the leash is trying to protect itself, trying to protect its person. Right. So you never know. There's situations like that. Also,
so you get called after the fact to be like,
most of the time,
happened,
yes.
and this I'm going to sue. What happens for you?
So the suing is nothing to do with me, thankfully.
Okay.
But every time there is what's called a rabies exposure incident, that's a whole nother can of worms. Anytime there's a bite between either an animal and an animal or an animal and a person, I get involved. There's a state rabies protocol that kicks into effect to make sure that no one's going to come down with rabies. And to issue bite quarantines, you kind of assess each situation, see if there were any other ordinance violations that need addressing, talk with people, make sure the people are okay, the pets are okay, everyone's getting the help that they need.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, make sure that rabies doesn't come in and isn't a problem. Make sure everybody's got their shots. Make sure the quarantines are followed.
Have you been bitten?
Yes.
Yeah. Several times, or
mostly.
hopefully not, but
I've been bit by one dog and a couple of cats.
okay.
Yep.
So the cats too, right?
Cats are easily stressed, and somebody coming into their space, and especially if it's, cats are easily stressed. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, sure.
Where like more dogs can be happy-go-lucky like Holly, then dogs can have their off days too. But to try and take a cat out of its home environment, whether it's for a quarantine or whether it's just a place it's not supposed to be, we've had cats end up in houses they're not supposed to be in.
Yes, that seems to happen a lot. Right.
You think you're taking in a stray and it's all well and good until it doesn't get along with your current pets or your kids or.
Right.
So there's you never know.
Well, listen. Noodle on some crazy stories, and I'm going to just shift gears and hear, clearly Holly's like a totally different animal here. What's happening with Holly? Is she chilling out?
I think she's knocked out.
Taking a snooze.
Okay.
Yeah, she's sleeping.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you and Holly in the elementary school and the middle school, Officer West. What does that look like?
It's really different every day. It's definitely a different job with Holly because I was the SO for 2 years prior to getting her. I got her last January. But it's a lot of meeting certain kids. I go to therapy sessions. There's a lot of kids, especially in the elementary schools, that will use Holly as like a reward system. So if they do their work or if they go to class X amount of days, they get 10 minutes with Holly. So that's been a lot of it. And I have presentations with her that I give about comfort dogs, but most of the time it's really just walking around, going into classrooms, seeing kids in the hallway, and just about everybody. I've had no problems. 1 or 2 kids will say, oh, I'm allergic or I'm a little afraid of dogs. But just about everybody who sees her, it's just elated, and they run right up to her and they pet her, teachers and kids. And that's a lot of my day, just stopping every 10 feet because a kid, came out and I should grab her and
it's
pet
not
her.
a super efficient, productive day. Like you're just like, oh, let's walk 3 steps, right? Just like I did when I came in. So when you give these presentations to the kids about comfort dogs, what are the most important things that you're trying to convey there?
So it depends on the age. The most important thing with Holly, I guess, is really just how to treat her, especially with the little kids. I tell them just to touch the back and the sides and avoid her head and eyes, of course, and don't grab her. Just pet her and stuff like that for the little kids. Other times I've given presentations just about comfort dogs and why we have them and the benefits to them. And of course, I don't have my treats on me. I left them in my car, but she does have some commands, I have to call them. Tricks that I show the kids that they learn. I'm supposed to call them commands, though. But I give that at the end of every presentation.
Oh, that's so wonderful. That's so wonderful. So you're both at the elementary and middle school. So how do you split your time? How do you know where you're needed? Are you making that call, or is it?
Yeah, I make most of the time.
Yeah.
My office is at the middle school, so that's where I spend most of my time.
Okay.
I try to switch off different days. So like Monday I'll go to Hathaway, Tuesday I'll go to Melville. And generally I try to keep the same time in the mornings, but of course, especially with Holly, with all the meetings and seeing kids, that can change. Sometimes I'll go for lunch instead. I'll eat with the kids at lunch. Sometimes teachers will email me and say, can we have Holly at X amount of time for this meeting? So then I'll wait to go there. But it's, I try to set a schedule, but it's definitely changing every day where I am.
Yeah. Can you describe maybe one of the most important things you've witnessed the impact that Holly has made?
That's a good question. There are definitely several parts that come to my mind. Mental health is the biggest thing that she helps with. Kids having, I don't want to get too in detail, but kids having episodes multiple times now. I've walked in the room with Holly and it just stops. Like they see her and they're done. The crying is done, the shouting's done, and they just sit with Holly for 10 minutes and everything's changed. And that's happened many times. I haven't had her a year, and of course this summer broke it up, but I really can't even explain how many times I've walked into a room with a kid having an episode and it just ends immediately.
Well, I imagine in that situation, you're probably right there with Holly, right? So that kid might come over and sit with Holly and you're there, and then all of a sudden you're immersed in whatever was happening. So what kind of training do you have to kind of deal with those mental health sort of things? I'm assuming both of you as school resource officers probably did some pretty extensive training, because dealing with young people is just a different animal. No pun intended. Sorry. Oh my goodness, I did it. I said the pun. Sorry.
I mean, we have every police officer has some kind of mental health training anyway, going through the academy and follow up. Will and I, not at the same time, we went to week-long school resource officer trainings. So that kind of, showed us how to deal with kids and what to do with kids. In addition to Holly, when I got her, I went to New York for 2 weeks for a training with her. And they taught me basically how to interact with her and interact with people around her.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. So you definitely talked about her like she is you're her guy.
She's
you're her
absolutely
guy.
Mine. I'm her handler. I'm her owner.
Okay.
She goes home with me every day. Everybody asks that. She sleeps in my bed. And when she retires, she'll live out her days at my house. So she is absolutely my dog, even though she's a sworn officer. She took the oath and everything. She does live with me and will spend the rest of her life with me.
Oh, that's great. So you clearly knew this was happening and signed up for this.
Kind of.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
So I'll go through. I don't want to take up too much time, but it was kind of just a side conversation. I was already school resource officer for a year and a half, and a couple of other places have had comfort dogs. And somebody had mentioned it to me as a side note, and then it kind of spread like wildfire. And I got a call from somebody at the station and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And I said, "It was just a conversation. I didn't know." And the department was all for it. They've been great. They said, "Hey, if you really want it, look into it." And I did, and I went to a symposium at Brown University. I found out about her company, Puppies Behind Bars it's called. They're raised and trained in prisons.
Puppies Behind Bars?
Yep. So they're raised and trained in prisons, the company that I come through.
Really?
And the incarcerated people are the ones who train them. And when they decide that they're ready, which is usually about a year and a half to 2 years old, I signed up and tons of paperwork, and they gave me a call, and it was November, and they said, "Hey, we have January if you want," which I didn't really. I was going to wait till this school year. But we were all for it, and I went in January.
Here we go.
2 weeks of training and came back.
Puppies Behind Bars.
Yeah, it's a great company. It's great for the incarcerated people. It's great for the dogs.
Well, right. Somebody's trying to do something amazing there, right?
Yeah, and they really are. They've been expanding. My class had all people on the West Coast. They started off in New York. It's a New York-based company. Grew a little bit in New England, and now they're going all over the place. And it's completely free. Everything's donated. The 2 weeks I spent there, they paid for. Holly was completely donated.
What kind of dog is Holly?
Black Lab.
A black lab.
Purebred Black Lab.
Okay. Oh my goodness. That's amazing. Well, very, very cool. Well, Officer Silva, let's talk about the high school.
Sure.
And what that's like. I'm sure there's a little bit of a different experience going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Totally different age range, right?
Yeah.
We have the young adolescent students.
Yes.
Basically,
I have two of them. One's a
over there?
senior. The other one just went to college. But yes,
Nice.
yes, I'm
How do
familiar
they-
with the teenage adolescent male.
So I don't have anything to compare it to. Right, it was my first assignment
went
at a
right in
school.
there.
Went right in, and I liked it because still young, and I can resonate and relate to a lot of the students and the staff. My first school year there was actually the first school year with all new administrators, so it was kind of like a fresh start.
Okay, yeah.
We met everybody before school, and it's been great ever since.
Yeah.
In the morning, so my schedule is the same throughout the week. Every morning I start in the parking lot because I'm sure if you drop the kids off, you can get like a racetrack kind of.
Yes. Parents too, being a racetrack.
All
right?
the cars in there.
All the cars.
The buses, the cars.
It's like, I'm late.
Right. And once that's done, once everybody's in, then I'll go inside and I'll start walking around and just interacting with everyone that I come across.
Yeah. So that's kind of what, I mean, would you describe your role? Is it more, how would you describe your role? I was trying to do a little prep for this and
Sure.
reading about school resource officers, and I went down some rabbit holes on the difference between school resource officers and school safety officers, and maybe that's not a good rabbit hole, but like I'm just trying to understand really like what are you trying to accomplish there, and what are the things you're responsible for, say?
Sure. So first and foremost, it's obviously the safety of everybody in the building, students, faculty members, visitors, protection of the property. So Officer Lamar and I, we are sworn police officers.
Right.
And you kind of alluded to the safety officer. I believe at the other schools, they also have safety officers, but our roles are completely different. We wear many hats, so it's not just police officer in a school, teachers, counselors, all of the above. We have to, all these kids come from different lives, right? And at the end of the day, they look up to us to come to if they have a problem that they don't feel comfortable going to a teacher with, a guidance counselor. So we have to understand how to be receptive and handle those questions.
Yeah. Does that happen every day?
I would say every day.
Really?
At a minimum.
And what are they like? Can you talk over here? What does that look? I mean, that's interesting. Can you describe something that's again without giving details,
Sure.
because I realize it's all private, but like just something.
I can say, so it's nice being the continuation of meeting all of the students from last year into this year. So I have that rapport with a bunch of them, and it's just a lot of people that may be struggling with homework and assignments and grades and the academics that don't want to be in the classroom. Hey, can I go talk to Officer Will? And we'll talk, and they'll ask, what do you think about this? And I'll tell them, hey,
what do you think about my algebra?
I'm not a historian or an algebra teacher, but
they
I
want
can
to
help
talk to you.
They want to talk. It's a way to vent and de-stress. And then I say, all right, well, you got to go back to class. Come see me during lunch. And usually 9 times out of 10, their day goes more positively.
That is actually, I'm going to say shocking. Like as a kind of a mom to think that you all might be the person that they actually want to go, I need to exit this room and I need to go
Sure.
talk to Officer Will.
And they
West.
ask me, where's Holly? And I tell them I don't have Holly, and I try to get Officer Lamar and Holly to come. But.
Oh my goodness. So that de-stress piece sounds, we'll just throw that in the mental health, like you're playing that mental health role. What other kinds of roles are you playing? Are there some kind of disciplinary sort of roles you have to play, or do you leave that up to the faculty? Like, how do you? I'm sure that's a hard line to walk.
The line is certainly blurry at first, but it comes with experience. So we're not disciplinarians in any facet there. If there's an issue that is brought to our attention, obviously we refer to the dean of students or the principal, vice principal, so have you. If the student's behavior rises to criminality or it's something serious, they'll turn that over to us, and it's just a constant. I don't want to say juggling act, balancing act.
Yeah, or passing back and forth, or.
But we figure it out. So. We know where our lane is, they know their lane, and if there's any confusion, we work it out as a team.
You communicate, right? Like, it sounds like it's a team. That's the impression I'm getting, is that it's
Sure, 100%.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Well, listen, you guys think of some cool, crazy stories that you might be able to share. And I'm going to turn back to ACO Liz here, and we just got a few minutes left. So I don't know if as you've been listening to your colleagues talk here, if you've been noodling on any kind of interesting things you'd like to leave our audience with about your role, a fun story, really anything.
So I guess if I could just put like a message out there, it'd be like,
yeah.
If you have questions, if you have concerns, anything animal related, whether it's the neighbor's dog barking, whether it's you see stray cats and you want to help them and you're not sure, call me. I'm more than happy to talk through like any problem, animal related.
And you've seen it all, it sounds like.
I've seen a lot. I don't want to say all because that's going to jinx me. Something crazy is going to come up next week now. But I'm more than happy to talk to people. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to call me with the goal of filing a police report or with getting somebody in trouble. I'm so invested in the education aspect and trying to provide help and aid to people that need it. So whether that's putting you in touch with like Potter League resources to help get your cat spayed or neutered or get your dog a rabies vaccine, don't ever be afraid to call and ask for help or to try and talk through a problem that you're having. That's what I'm here for. Absolutely.
That's amazing. I really appreciate you saying that because you don't always have to be coming and fixing a problem. It can be
just like talk through, I have people call me all the time and just want to talk through like, what are my options? Like, this is what's going on. What are the different kind of paths we could take? And I'm more than happy to try and figure that out with you.
Yeah, that sounds really great. All right, well, gentlemen, back to you all on any stories you want to share that just kind of were memorable moments over the past couple of years.
School related, patrol related.
Actually, I'll take anything. Anything you'd like. This is awesome.
You got any first?
Not really. There's not a lot inside the school. I'd say that I could share my craziest stories.
Well,
I think it's more confidential.
It's very confidential and private, right? Sure. I just thought there might be something.
I'll leave you with this. I was working a patrol shift during the summer or last year, and again, it was my first school year. I didn't know nearly any students, right? And I was on a traffic post on the highway, the truck stop on 24 South, and this car was hammering, and the radar, I won't say the number, the mile per hour, but it was well above the speed limit. Caught up to the vehicle.
Was it the principal?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the principal. It wasn't the principal.
Awkward.
No. Hey. And I stopped the individual, and very compliant, but the speeds were outrageous. So we had a discussion, and come to find out, my return to school year was one of the students. And every time after
that makes some sense. So you're like, hi.
Yeah, I recognize you. You come here. But ever since, it was more of a learning opportunity, and there were no bad grudges or anything, and we talk regularly now. So
that's pretty great. Makes my cheeks.
It was pretty funny.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, I so appreciate you guys being here. In our last minute, do you think these students should go into the police force?
Good question.
That is a good question.
I think just like any career, they should look into it if it's something they want to do. Yeah. Just know what you're getting into. That's why we run a criminal justice course at the high school. Just look into it. Ask us. Ask any police officer you know. If you think it's something you want, absolutely. If not, we won't take it personally. Just do your research, I would say, before you come here. I love it, but it's not for everybody.
Same, right? I can tell that passion in each of you, and I so appreciate you being here to share that with all of us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I hope you'll come back.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Thanks so much for joining us on Portsmouth This Week. We'll see you next time.